Oh, we're live!
Hi, how are you?
Hello. I'm Andrew from Teapot Teas.
And I'm Doris from Reality Healing.
And we're back again. This time much earlier than anticipated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Only
Although later in the day. But
later in the day, but only a week apart this time.
I know, it feels like we just did this last week. So we're here today to talk about anger and how it plays out in your life and how it affects you and stuff like that. But whilst we're waiting for a few people to come online still, we're going to just share a few things that we've got coming up. And the first thing I want to share is my channels, the Tuesday night channels. I've decided to make this year my year of mastering technology. And after the big push a couple of weeks ago, I'm now able to offer my channels online anywhere in the world via Zoom. So I'm really proud of that. And tonight is channel night, and if you'd still like to join us, we're dealing with the good enough, bad enough, too bad, the duality of good and bad. So I'm really proud of that. And Andrew, you've got some great news about your TV show?
Yes, I've been selected to go on a TV show, but we can't actually say what it is. But we had the filming here in the house and in the studio as well. So it's been pretty exciting a whole day, and I had Doris here helping out.
I got on television.
Yes.
Well, not yet, but I will do.
It will be. So
I'll end up on the cutting room floor watch.
I think you'll probably go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun day.
It was just really it was a big day, and then we had the next day. I had the day full of workshops here as well, which comes to all the workshops that are coming up. So I've got a tea alchemy workshop, which is tea blending workshop, coming up in October, and I've teamed up and I'm helping out Capricorn 6th and 10th in Waterloo. Unfortunately, Doris couldn't be there, which
I'm away.
Yeah, which will be a real bummer because it's not the same without her there.
So tell me what this is.
So Capricorn 6 and 10 is the spiritual hub where you can have psychic readings, healings, and live event shows that are going to be happening there. And we're actually going to launch their opening as well as a spiritual market during the day on the 10th of November from 10 till 4. And I will also be teaching my tea leaf reading workshop there. So there'll be workshops, there will be crystals for sale, you can have healings, you can have a psychic reading.
What's the date again?
The 10th of November.
So the 10th of the 11th from 10 a.m.
From 10 a.m, that's right. And that evening there will be a platform night where I think there'll be about 8 different mediums and psychics.
Wow, we should have you covered.
Well, yeah, that's right. And they'll be on from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. So get your tickets, hop online, and I'll pop the link down below as well.
Excellent. And I can thoroughly recommend the tea blending workshop, because what you'll do when you go home, you will have your very own blend of tea that is perfect for you, that you've chosen and helped put together with the help of Andrew. So with all of the different ingredients that he has for teas all around us here, you'll be able to go home with your very own tea that you can't buy anywhere else. So
That's
that is
right.
really unique. Something just for you. It's really unique, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I know I'm enjoying my blend. Andrew made me a blend for the reading that he did for the television show. And I've been really, really enjoying that, Andrew. I've been loving it.
Oh, good.
Really, really loving it. So
Yeah.
Thank you. So,
Anger.
yes.
Oh.
Don't look at me like that.
It's funny because we talked about doing this segment, and both of us went, it's a really dangerous topic to talk about.
It is.
Because it is such a big topic, and both of us have experienced both anger and rage, for good and for the bad. So, we thought about how we would like to talk about it. And I was going to ask Doris, did you have anger issues when you were a child?
As a child, absolutely. And I would actually, when I started healing and working on myself, I actually would have classified it as rage. I was just very, 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 very angry at all the unfairness and at what, what had happened to me as a child.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim. One of our favourites. Kim is travelling and tunes in when she can, which is good. So, but yes, anger was a really, really, really big part in my life, and it took me quite a while to manage it. And you?
For me, it was the same, actually. I've had it in my report card quite a few times that Andrew has a very quick temper. And, it's only years after when you look back on it and you go, really? Even way back then when I was that young, I already had a little temper.
Yeah.
Not a little temper, a big temper.
Big temper.
It was just quick. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just been something that we've both had to deal with. And it stems from a few different things, doesn't it? For you, what did it stem from?
Well, from me, from not being allowed to be me, from someone constantly telling what to do and who I was and what I was allowed to do and not allowed to do, and inappropriate behaviour by my dad and abuse and things like that. But both of us have our story, but I think that really anger is a natural part of growing up, because we have a family unit, and then one person needs to leave that family unit and really pull themselves away, often from what is a very loving and caring family unit and situation. So the anger is the impetus, it's the force that actually pulls you away from that family unit and helps you discover yourself, because people need to do that. They can't continue to live. I mean, it's like a seed growing too close to the original plant. There just won't be any sunlight or any air for it.
That's right.
So we need to move on. So I think and when you look at teenagers, you see them, and to me they always feel like porcupines. Like there's just these big F-off vibes, coming off
prickles,
them, like the big prickles that come out, and and they get that surly sort of look, and I'm sure we were like that too. It sounds like you were like that at about 5, actually.
Yeah. I think it also comes from with my family, especially my dad's side, everyone's really quick and they're all smart. So I remember as a child, before a family event, I would actually dream and think of all the comebacks that I could have. And can you imagine how exhausting that is for a little child? But you're going there, it's like going to battle.
It's like preparing a script.
It's like preparing a script.
And being the understudy for every situation that you come across in a scenario, in an event, which should be a family loving, fun family gathering. Yeah.
Which becomes this whole thing about protection, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think
that's what anger is, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
It's a way of protecting ourselves, and also for me, it was a way of. Also a way of keeping myself separate so that I didn't get lost in it.
Yeah.
Like if you're saying your family were all smart and quick-witted, and you could have just got lost in the melee.
You do. And that was the thing, it was either, say something really quickly or completely disappear. Yeah, exactly. Or be extremely dissatisfied for the next week because why didn't I think of, to say that? I should have said that. Yeah.
Who's done that, thought about it afterwards. You all have, I'm sure, different ways. Do you remember, I'm talking to each and every one of you, do you remember going through that stage yourself of teenagerhood where you felt angry constantly and a bit surly and the whole world was against you kind of thing? Or have you raised children that have gone through that stage? Because it's a really important stage. I'm just wondering whether someone's experienced that. Wendy's saying hormones, hormones, that affects us, absolutely affects us. And I think that as teenagers, that's part of the story there.
That's right.
Not that I'm an expert on hormones or teenagers, but I've been one and I've raised 2, so...
I think that does play quite a bit in that as well, because as we're changing, our bodies are changing, our minds are changing, everything about us is changing. But we don't really know how to cope with that change.
Yeah, and what it means.
Yeah. So, that anger does come out. And I think it's also part of self-expression.
Yep.
And, we get angry because we need to rebel and we need to express who we are.
And also give ourselves permission to do that.
That's right.
And sometimes, because we've talked about the inner child, and the inner child goes, no, it's fine. I don't need to say anything. I'm just fine sitting here and just watching. And then the inner rebel or the warrior or the protector comes out and goes, no, you've got something to say, you know. And we need to sort of wind ourselves up to find the momentum and find the courage to actually speak about it. That's why sometimes they say there's some saying about the truth comes out in anger or something, you know how you know when people they go, oh no, I didn't mean that, and you go, well, you did. You know. But you know, for me, when I started healing my past, my childhood, anger was very much one of the first things. Kim saying as we get older we learn to choose our battles. Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right. We also learn, which is what I did, I learned that holding on to anger is very detrimental. It's very, very dangerous, and it's very painful because what's the saying? It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die when you're angry at someone.
That's right.
Because, you know, you're the one that's actually holding that anger in your body. So, sure, the person that you're angry with may feel some of that feeling that you're sending to them, but you're holding it all in your body, and that's not good. That really, really, really isn't good, and I think that causes a lot of problems.
That's
health
right.
Problems.
Yeah, and I think if you follow, you know, good old Louise Hay, a lot of the physical things stem from anger.
Yes. Or lack of love.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the other side of the same coin.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you know, one of the things they always talk about anger and frustration are pimples.
Oh, really?
That's one of the signs, you know. And
well, look at
look at teenagers, you know, when they're angry, and their face is angry as well, and you know,
the little mini volcanoes.
Volcanoes are they're all coming out from your skin, and so you know, every time I do have pimple or acne right now myself, I think, what am I angry at? Yeah, because it does come out. It does show on your skin.
I'm blessed then. Because,
really?
Oh yeah. If honestly, if my anger had shown on my face, I'd have been like a Chiquito bar. Honestly, I'd have been Mount Vesuvius right here. You know, but that didn't happen to me. Maybe because I didn't know any better. It was before I knew that's what was supposed to happen. I mean, I don't know. But anger is also a you know, serves a purpose, doesn't it?
It does.
It also serves a purpose because it's our little tap on the shoulder to say, hey, something's wrong. And, you know, rather than just hold the anger and be angry at that person or that experience that you've had, I have learned to sit and just get curious about what this is showing me, you know, what I could learn from this, or what the deeper meaning is to this, or you know, something along those lines. How do you deal with anger?
Well, first of all, for me, anger actually creates change.
Yeah,
I find that, you know, if I'm angry enough, I want to make a change in my life. That's the first trigger.
That's your motivation.
That's my first motivation. Okay. Actually, that actually tells me that something is wrong and I need to make the change.
Okay. And then you follow through? And
then I follow through, because you know, you can either keep getting angry with it and let it fester, or you can do something about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the you know, the action and awareness as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
but not everybody does that.
No.
Because I know I think like just listening to you speak, I think I go the other way. You know?
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, like I used to, more so, but now I don't. So I don't get angry so much anymore. So it's really hard to tell. But you know, it's like that inner child and the protector, where the if you get someone pisses you off and you get angry about it, you could either let it get you down or you could let it push you up. And what Andrew's saying, I think, is that you let it push you up.
Yeah, let it push me up. And I think, you know, from our last conversation that we had about the inner rebel, I think that's very much part of it. I think that's how a lot of activists work.
Yeah.
You know, what drives people to make the changes? Because they're angry. Yeah. And it needs to be done, you know. It's about the injustice. Why are people, you know, why do people campaign against politicians because they're angry. Why do people go into politics? Because they want to make a change. And they might have started out angry, or there could be different motivations. Some people have ambition, others, like a lot of the Greens, they want to make a change.
But you're right, those people, even if they're not personally angry about it, they understand that anger is an emotion that motivates people.
That's right.
And they often use it, Don't let this mining company do this to our town, Don't
That's
let
right.
McDonald's move into our city and or our village or whatever. So, and they anger is still really very much used as a motivational force in that sort of situation.
And there is power in people and people getting together. And, so that's why it is important that we do have that sense of anger down there, because it does make that change.
Fuels the fire.
It fuels the fire. That's exactly right. And, you think Gandhi may have done it really peacefully, but there was still anger there, because he was angry that, that his fellow Indians were not being treated the same.
Yeah. So he used the motivation of that, but he chose to express it in a passive way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important to me, is that, what you do with the anger and how you express it and how you connect with people, and what you do with that anger that matters, because holding on to it isn't good. So really sometimes just sitting and understanding what's the message in it is really important.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then there's the opposite to that as well, isn't it? When people get so angry, they become out of control, and you see this with religion and the fanatics in religion, where it just goes overboard, and then everyone will stereotype so and so as being extremely aggressive, or a race is extremely aggressive, or even in the case of where activists are against eating meat, and vegans, poor vegans, they always get a really tough name, don't they, because of that, because they're so passionate about it and they're so angry that it comes out in a way where it's explosive.
And it's uncomfortable for other people to
That's
feel
right.
that anger, and I think there's always a group, there's always some people within any organisation or group, or whatever you want to call it, that express themselves like that and use anger in a way that is perhaps not user-friendly or appropriate, and I mean, at the moment here in Australia, Muslims are getting a really bad rap, and they're seen as troublemakers and all sorts of things, because the ones that are inappropriately expressing their anger at something and wanting things to change are perhaps not doing it in a very nice way, and they're the ones that we tend to remember. And it's the same with religion. We try and turn all religion away because we think that it's going to come at us in this certain way, and we get really careful about mentioning that we eat meat around certain people, because we're worried that it's going to explode in our face. And
that's right.
So, and even in politics, you see that. Look at what happened with Donald Trump. The incredible anger that all came about around that, and how that came about. And now, I saw Obama on a video really saying to people, you have to vote because the elections are coming up again, and they're saying don't just sit on your laurels and hope for something to happen, and you've got to do something. But so you get that in any sort of group,
in any sort
situation.
Of group,
Even in our industry, which I hear people say all the time, but she's supposed to be a spiritual person. Well, look at why is she so angry? Why is she behaving like that? I thought she was spiritual.
It's not all peace, love, and mung beans, is it?
No, not at all. And you get people who feel the need to just blurt their anger out all over everybody, in an attempt to create change, or in an attempt to meet their own needs. When perhaps there could be another way that would be more effective, So that's
I think that comes into the whole rage thing as well, isn't it? Because that's the other side of anger that's, not the most positive. when people actually go into the rage and they can't see anything.
Yeah, they see red. Yeah.
You know, and you know you've got this bulldog coming down at you, down your throat.
Yeah.
And that actually doesn't do anything for anyone, does it? It doesn't allow communication. It doesn't allow community.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever been so angry about
I think
something?
I have.
Yeah.
I definitely have. And I think I've always been afraid of that in me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I've always known I can't be an
potential.
angry, yes. Yeah. And I've always been afraid to allow that anger out. And I've, you know, a girlfriend of mine, Fiona, always said to me, you know, Andrew, you need to let the tiger out. Because that tiger is going to take you somewhere one day. It's going to, you know, it's where you're going to need it in business one day. Don't be afraid of it, and really love that part of the tiger and know when to bring it out.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
She said this to me, you know, 10, 15 years ago. And it's always at the back of my head. And there's always part of me saying, I'm a little afraid of that because I'm not sure. You know, it's like Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. I always think of that, you know, once I pop, will I be able to stop at all? So it always makes me, slow down, actually think about that. And I always have Fiona at the back of my head going, let the tiger out.
Yeah, because the anger and passion are very close cousins, aren't they? Very, very close cousins. So, you know, but what's the difference for you?
For me, I think passion is when there's something that's positive that comes out of it. You know, you can make changes with passion, but with rage, you've got nowhere to move with the rage. Once rage hits, there's no compromise. In fact, many times when you go into rage, you lose yourself. And I think a lot of people do that. They you know, I'm sure your dad was like that.
Yeah, that rage ends up running the show.
That's right.
Yeah. But I think also for me, because the question came to me, but then I was also curious in my own head what my answer would be, and I think that for me, I'm seeing that the difference is love. Like passion comes from a love of something.
That's true.
And anger comes from a dislike of something.
That's
or
right.
You know,
dissatisfaction. Yeah, a dis-ease.
Yeah. Hate, almost.
Hate, yeah.
Which is not a nice word, but, you know, there it is.
Which is that spectrum again, isn't it? You know, when you're talking about with Louise Hay, there's always that love and hate.
Yeah.
You know.
And they're not actually opposite each other, but they work differently in our lives. So, anyway, we're getting close to the half an hour that we promised we'd stick to this time.
Yep.
So, one of the things that we like to do is actually not just talk about something and have an awareness of it, but also to help you to create the change that you want in your life. And one of the things that sorry, my hair's getting in my eyes. One of the things that I realised, which is when I started to heal anger, I realised that I was still getting cranky. And I observed myself, which is a great thing to do, become the observer in your own life. And I noticed that what I was doing was actually looking for things that would tick me off, that would irritate me. And then it was like that, the static electricity, you know, rubbing your feet on the carpet.
Yep.
And I'd have this little static charge and I'd just go whack and throw that charge in my backpack so that if I ever needed to, I had enough ammunition, fuel in my anger tanks to just blow someone out of the water if I needed to. And, you know, that had me, several things. It had me constantly looking for what was wrong, which is not a good place to be. It had me in a constant state of, you know, when the wind's blowing and you get staticky, that sort of electrical charge, it had me constantly in that sort of state of unrest.
Yep.
And I was holding this massive tank of like acid. It was like acid in my backpack. Of anger, and my guide said to me, you know, you are always loved and protected. You don't need that. You know, you will find the energy for the protection somewhere if you need it. So I let that go, and it has changed my life. It has really changed my life. So, but you've also got some points that help people.
There's some points, but one of the things that I find that's really good for me is, you know, when you get a text message or an email, I tend not to reply immediately because usually if you reply at that very moment, you're usually reacting to it. So,
which is a defence.
which is a defense.
So you're going into defence again, which is what anger is. Anger is a defensive move that's telling you something's wrong, you've got to do something about this. But you're saying don't do it straight away.
Don't do it straight away. So I'd usually leave it overnight, take a deep breath, or, before I actually type, or leave it overnight so that I can actually really think about it. Or type it up and I store it in my notes.
Yeah.
Then I go back there and have a look and go, is that the best way to reply?
Yeah. Is that what you really want to say?
Yeah, is that really what you... Because, it's easy to go get a machine gun and shoot everyone down, isn't it?
Yeah.
and then the next day have to deal with the repercussions.
We're talking energetically.
That's right.
We're pacifists, really.
Yeah.
And then next day you have to repair.
And then you have to repair, which sometimes is really hard because guess what? Once it comes out of your mouth, you can never retrieve it.
No, you can't. And it can, and even if people forgive you and they move and you move on, there's always that thing,
the damage is done.
The damage is done, and people are always cautious about speaking up around you.
That's right.
I think, and people always try and double guess themselves, and then you have this situation where you put someone else on the back foot or on tenterhooks, or someoone's walking on eggshells around you,
and they lose their authenticity around.
They do, and the connection and the openness and the love between you gets damaged in some way. So, but that's for them, but also for you. Don't you find gifts in that sometimes? That you gain a deeper understanding, or you gain compassion for someone, or understand that really life is just showing you something.
Yeah, it definitely does. Because I think when you actually sit back and look, and before you reply, you're actually looking at why did they say that. What has it got to do? What's going on in their life right now? And when you do that, and you actually look what's going on, I think you're a little bit more compassionate.
Yep.
And you're also more compassionate to yourself the way you say it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, if somebody said something to you that was really, really rude, and you were like, "Excuse me, but that's just rude.
We ain't going there."
And then if I said to you that very person, their mother had just died and their dog had just been run over, you would think about them completely differently. You'd suddenly go, "Oh, those poor people, no wonder they're angry," and you'd want to give them a hug rather than slap them.
That's right.
So it's really about reframing the way that the lens that you're looking at life through, and changing that, because that sets you free, and it also sets them free to have a deep and meaningful and honest conversation, rather than one where you're both in protection mode.
That's right.
Because that closes things up. Anger closes things up and disengages, and so that's
anger has caused rifts in families for years. You know? Yeah,
I know. We've lived it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sometimes we just need to let it go. And I think that comes to the little point that I'd like to share with you. It's actually in your hand, and if you put your hand out like this, it's on the highest point, and you squeeze it down, you'll feel that it hurts when you squeeze it down. This is called colon 4.
So that point there.
Yeah, that's the highest point.
That point there.
And if you press down on it, can you feel it? It's quite tender.
Yep.
Yeah. So that is called colon 4, and colon 4 is a release point.
So you're going right through with the other finger on the other side.
Well, you're just using the other finger to support.
Yeah. Okay.
I tend to use my thumb to do it because I can get a bit more pressure.
Yeah. Ooh,
and that goes in. You can, yeah. And if you hold that, this is also a great headache relieving point. It's also a release point. So if you've got a really sluggish bowel, you would massage that point. It's also the only contraindication to that is don't do it when you're pregnant, because it can induce labor.
Well, I'm not pregnant.
No, definitely not. Last I checked. Yeah, so try that point, because that's a really, really nice point for you just to stop and go, I'm just going to release.
And on top of all of that, it gives you something else to do, and it breaks that pattern of like
focus,
cause and effect.
That's right.
That bang, bang, done. So it gives you something else to do.
That's right. And the pain that you get from it, I think it's aversion therapy. So you completely forget about all your anger and think, what did I just do?
It's like when you stomp on someone's toe and they get a headache.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's a really good point. And the other point is actually right in your chest, right in between your nipples, and just remember where your nipples used to be. So just, you put your finger right there, right in between, and you'll feel a pressure. It's right in between the ribs. Can you feel that?
Yep.
Yeah. And
It's kind of like a little cup for your breastplate.
Yeah,
Is that what you're talking
that's
about?
correct.
Yeah, I can really feel that.
You can really feel that. It's just slightly above your solar plexus and right below your heart. Really, yeah? And that point is CV17, or conception vessel. And this point actually governs the lungs, the pericardium, and the heart in traditional Chinese medicine. So the lung is really about taking in life, and it makes you stop and take a deep breath. And the heart helps you with flow. So
and the pericardium, for people who don't know, the pericardium is the protection around the heart.
That's right.
So it's good again to open that. Because what we were talking about before, that anger is a protection. So it's a reminder that you don't need to protect yourself from someone else's words. You work with it rather than just.
Correct. It's also a stress point. So if you press on it,
point?
It's an anti-stress point.
Sorry, just want to make that clear.
But usually it tells you that you are stressed. If you press on it, and it hurts, it usually tells you that you're
Depends
stressed.
on how sharp your nails are and how hard you press it, right?
Yeah, I always press too hard.
You're not doing CPR.
Yeah, so just remember these 2 points, colon 4, which is the highest point, and you just press down on that. That's a nice little release and let go. And conception vessel is CV17. And you find that people tend to do that when they're angry. They do this. They beat on their chest.
I'm not.
Yeah. And so next time you do it, just do it with your finger. Just tap on it.
Right. Go easy on yourself.
Go easy on yourself. Yeah. So try these different techniques, and take a deep breath the next time you're angry.
And I also want to ask you to own the fact that you're angry. It's okay that you're angry. I remember being asked by Spirit to do a workshop on anger, and every single person that I spoke to said to me, "Oh, I know somebody that needs this." Like, hello, what about you? Because we're all angry. We're all angry about something. We all have anger that comes and goes from our lives, and we want you to understand it, understand what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, and how you can release it, so that you can have open, honest connections and conversations with people, so that you don't have to store this toxic emotion in your body, and you find a way of utilising it and harnessing the energy of it to create what you want to create in your life, rather than breaking something. Whether it's a relationship or your own body, through the holding of the emotions in there, because that's not healthy. So, and in our society, we're also not encouraged, don't get angry, and excuse me, please don't cry. It's not. We're not. I want to give you permission to express, to feel, to own, to express your emotions, but do them in a good way. And hopefully Andrew has given you some ways to
stop and have a cup of tea.
Oh yes,
stop and have a cup of tea.
Age-old remedy for a lot of things.
For a lot of things, yeah.
A lot of things. And teapot teas, of course, Andrew makes some beautiful ones. And if you come to his next workshop here, tea blending workshop, you can go away with your very own blend.
That's right. That's right.
I love it.
So, if you like, have a look at our website, and have a look at No Time for the Blues, because that's our adrenal tonic and stress and anxiety. That'll help you adapt to situations. Or You're So Dreamy, that will help you really relax.
Yeah, absolutely.
And calm back down.
And 2 of the crystals that I used, I made them into a bracelet so that I could hear them clinking, that reminded me that it was a choice for me to hold on to anger or not, was lava stone, which of course is part of the whole volcano thing, and kyanite. And kyanite showed me that I always have a divine connection, and that the power and flow in my life is there when I need it, and I don't have to hold on to any energy. So, but you can put any symbol or anything in your life that will remind you that you're worth more than that anger, holding on to that anger. So we love you. We want you to have the best in your life, and Andrew and I will be back next month to talk about
nurturing and over-nurturing.
And over-nurturing, yes. And we have so many friends and people in and around us who are some over-nurturers become mothers and others healers and others just really help everyone and anyone around them. And we want to talk to you about that and how you can harness that energy and also share some of that nurturing and love with yourself. It's really, really important, particularly when the kids grow up.
That's
and
right.
The client asks more of you than you need to give them, and you take responsibility for everyone in your life. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
Great work, Andrew.
Thank you for following and listening. And if you have any questions, pop it in the comment below, and we'll endeavour to answer it after this or at the next.
Yep, when you next
at the next
yeah.
session.
We'll and Andrew is going to put a link for the
workshops.
workshops. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care of yourself and take care of each other.
Mwah. Thanks.
See you,
Kim.
Kim.
Bye.
Bye.